Have you ever prayed and heard nothing? You asked God for direction. You begged for peace. You waited for a sign. But instead of answers, there was only silence. If you've ever wondered, God, where are you? You're not alone. Some of the strongest people in the Bible asked that very same question. But what if God's silence doesn't mean he's absent? What if it's actually proof that he's doing something you can't see yet? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why what feels like silence today could be preparing you for one of the greatest breakthroughs of your life.
There's one powerful reason God sometimes chooses silence instead of immediate answers. Most people completely misunderstand it. In fact, it's the exact reason many people lose hope too early and walk away just before everything begins to change. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. First, I want to tell you a story.
Imagine it's late at night. The house is quiet. A young woman sits alone at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee that's already gone cold. She's exhausted, not because she's been working all day, but because she's been carrying worries no one else can see. She lost her job months ago. Her relationships are falling apart. Bills keep arriving. Every morning she prays. Every night she prays again. She whispers the same words over and over. God, please help me. Days turn into weeks. Weeks become months. Still, nothing seems to change.
No miracle, no sign, no voice, only silence. Eventually, she begins asking the question so many of us have asked. Did God stop listening? If you've ever felt that way, I want you to know something. Your story isn't unusual, it's deeply human. And more importantly, it's a place where many incredible journeys of faith have actually begun. Because sometimes what feels like God's silence isn't the end of the conversation. It's the beginning of a transformation you simply can't see yet.
Here's the truth that changed the way I understand faith. Silence is not the same as absence. Think about a seed buried beneath the soil. From the surface, it looks like nothing is happening. No leaves, no flowers, no evidence of life. But underneath the ground, something extraordinary is taking place. Tiny roots are stretching deeper, growing stronger, preparing to support a tree that hasn't even broken through the surface yet. Our spiritual lives often work the same way. There are seasons when God isn't removing every obstacle in front of us. He's growing something inside us. Patience, wisdom, character.
A deeper trust that isn't dependent on immediate answers. Throughout the Bible, we see people who experienced long periods of waiting before they witnessed God's purpose unfold. Their waiting wasn't wasted. It became part of the preparation. And maybe that's where you are today. Not forgotten, not abandoned, just being prepared in ways you can't fully see yet. But there's another reason God's silence can feel so overwhelming. It's something most people never realize. Once you understand it, you'll stop interpreting every quiet season as rejection. In fact, it may completely change the way you pray from this day forward. Let's look at it together.
We live in a world that expects instant results. If a web page takes a few seconds to load, we become impatient. If a package is delayed, we start checking the tracking number every hour. Without realizing it, we sometimes expect God to work on our timetable too. But faith doesn't grow through instant gratification. It grows through trust. Sometimes God doesn't answer immediately because He's inviting us into a relationship that's built on confidence, not constant confirmation. Real faith isn't believing only after you receive the answer. Real faith is continuing to trust even when you can't yet see the outcome. And in that quiet space, your heart is becoming stronger than you ever imagined. Remember the question we left unanswered at the beginning? Why does God sometimes choose silence instead of giving us an immediate answer? The answer isn't because he doesn't care, and it isn't because your prayers have gone unheard. In many cases, his silence isn't a closed door, it's an invitation to grow close enough to recognize his voice in a deeper way. Think about the greatest relationships in your life. The strongest trust wasn't built in one perfect moment. It was built over time, through uncertainty, patience, and showing up even when everything wasn't clear. Faith works much the same way. Sometimes God calms the storm around us. Other times, he strengthens us so we can walk through the storm with courage. And when you look back months or even years later, you often realize something surprising. The season you thought was breaking you was actually building you. The delay taught you patience. The silence deepened your faith. The unanswered prayers redirected your path towards something better than you could have imagined. That doesn't mean waiting is easy. It isn't. But your waiting can still have purpose. So if today feels quiet, don't mistake quiet for emptiness. Some of life's most important work happens where we can't yet see it. Just as roots grow underground before a tree reaches toward the sky, your spiritual foundation may be growing in ways that will support the person you're becoming. And perhaps the greatest miracle isn't always an instant answer. Perhaps it's the quiet transformation happening within you. So the next time you find yourself asking, God, where are you? Try asking a different question. God, what are you teaching me in this season? That one small shift can change frustration into faith, fear into peace, and waiting into hope. Because even when heaven feels quiet, you are never beyond God's love, and your story is still unfolding. If this message spoke to your heart, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Soul Rise for more faith-filled messages that bring hope, peace, and encouragement. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment with just one word: trust. Sometimes that single word is the reminder we all need, not only for ourselves, but for someone else reading the comments today. Until next time, keep believing, keep growing, and remember, even in the silence, God is still at work.